when probably when you're approached for a role, how do you say yes and no to something?
Actually, there's less that goes on here, but more here. It's always been, in a creative space, you have to go with more of your gut and what makes sense, but makes sense from another part of you. And I think in life in general, I have a very strong intellect and I use my rationale wherever it's required. But with most things in life, where one needs to come from, make a kind of decision which comes from a combination of emotion, mind, creativity, instinct, impulse. That's what gets used in this. So in short, it's more something that comes from the gut, from the heart. I have never, in fact, in moments when one has tried to be strategic about it, it's not been particularly fulfilling. And I think my biggest advantage is that I have always been very clear that I have chosen to be an actor, and the profession has chosen me, but the choice has come from a desire to create. It's a creative choice, and I've had the goodwill to and the good fortune to be able to work consistently in the business and to have perhaps a family and support which allows me to do it even in moments when things may not be going as well. And so my choices don't come out of the need to keep the home functioning, which I'm very grateful for, that I have the luxury to make that choice purely out of what excites me.
I was just reading up on when you started with You Hota To Kya Hota. It was way back in 2006, incidentally the same year when I started working. So it's been, what,
Oh,
17 years in the profession for you. So you took still 2 years when Rock On happened, when you played Debbie Mascarenas, for that recognition to really set in, for people to think that, okay, fine, this is her breakthrough performance, the breakout role, as one says, for a debutante in that space, still new, finding his or her footing. How did you see those 2 years? If you go back, I know it's like a long way back, but nobody ever forgets from where you started.
yeah.
Was it sort of unsettling that whether you're in the right profession, whether things are going to work out for you, because you have a different leaning. I've seen you on stage, I've seen you on screen, and you have a different process when you approach a project as an actor. So was all of that sort of in your headspace when those 2 years really happened?
The 2 years only happened for the audience, not for me. I was working continuously. So, and I was in college. So when I started, I joined college in 2004 in Bombay, in Sophia. And I got You Hota To Kya Hota in 2005. And soon after that, I did Honeymoon Travels the following year. And the same year that I did Honeymoon Travels, I did a film called Rubaru, which was with Randeep Hooda, which released much after Rock On, but was shot the same year that I did Honeymoon Travels, which is 2006. So then came 2007 when I got finalized for Rock On, which was after I played a tiny part in Honeymoon Travels, and I didn't even think that somebody would consider me for a more main part like that in a film with the same production house, which ended up happening. I did Firak. I did Sudhir Mishra's film Tera Kya Hoga Johnny, which unfortunately never released. And I started another project called Bhumi. So suddenly I did that many films. It's just that Rock On was the first one that came out, but I had already done all these films. So what did happen is actually, and I was still finishing college. So I actually
Yes.
had to say no to a few projects because I couldn't bunk that much class and I had to give my exams. And in fact, Rubaru was shot with me skipping my first term exams
Okay.
for the third year.
Oh
So,
my.
uh, which of course now I admit to, and I remember going and having an interesting conversation with the principal as well about it. But so
So
no, I've had it. I was active right from the start, and even in the gaps now in more recent times when people haven't seen me in the theaters or on the OTT for I've still been working. So in my mind, it's like this seamless beginning to now, and which is why everything is as clear as day for me, even if I talk about 17 years ago.
Absolutely. And since you mentioned Nandita Das's Firak, you've returned to the director where you started your career with Zurkato. Very unusual casting with Kapil Sharma and you in the lead. How was that process, and how was that? Obviously, the story is poles apart. It's very, very different from Firak. But when you really reconnected with Nandita, how was that experience different?
Well, Nandita, I've been wanting to work with her as a director again for a while, and I missed the one film in the middle, but I've always been in touch with her throughout because we're also friends. We became friends, during that period from Firak to now, and we've kind of maintained that friendship over the years. So she is somebody who has, still been a part of my life even before Zwigato, and but it was so nice, as you said, for me to kind of have this kind of bookmarking of my career where I was so young and so new at that time, and to have been entrusted with such a beautiful role without her even auditioning me. She just did a test with me and Nawaz to see if we looked like a good couple, but she never tested me. She had seen Sudhir's film and she just asked me for it. I mean, these are things that you never think will happen, and then to now be doing a part where, and I think the bigger satisfaction was there because there were tiny bits and stories, different 5 6 different stories in Firak. I only got 6 days with her, and here I got 22 days. So I was just happy to get more time to watch her as a director, to be guided and trained by her, to be directed by her. So it was really wonderful to work again at this juncture in our life so many years later, having perhaps in my mind more to offer now and still more to learn.
While you were saying all this, Sana, I just realized that talk about Nandita Das or Nasiruddin Shah, Aziz Mirza, Meera Nair, Deepa Mehta. You've actually worked with the creme de la creme of the industry. Everybody, I mean, touch wood. So how, and everybody obviously would have given you different sort of experience from their own vast body of work. So that's how myriad the performance has been. So how has that enriched you as a performer and actor?
Well, to start with, I think I am one of those anomalies where my career started before I could dream of it. And it has continued to be on that trajectory. And I've worked right at the beginning of my career, I've worked with all the people that I dreamt of working. And so the confidence that it builds in you, in being able to dream, in making that dream come true, in being able to be grateful and learn and not get bitter. These were all the things that really helped, to be told by people that you respect and admire that you're doing something right, that they're noticing you for or commenting on the way you are approaching something that you're not trained for. I've come in, cold turkey from life, which today I realize is the biggest learning ground. But still, when you're young and you join with people who are stalwarts, who have trained for years, and you are, in the same frame as them, to be told by them then that you've done a good job or that you have good instincts, it really helps to build your sense of self in a world where you don't know whether you belong or not, and or how long you will belong. And I think that those people, whether it's Shabana Azmi, whether it's Nasiruddin Shah, whether it's Ratna Pathak Shah, uh, who played my first co-actor,
Yeah.
whether it's Randeep, whether it's my other directors, whether it's Deepa, now Meera, all of them have encouraged me in different ways to really stick to being who I am and keep my instincts strong. And in more recent times, they've also encouraged me to direct, which I wish to do, and I plan to do as well. So that again becomes a great, because I've never shared with them that I want to direct, but they keep saying it to me. Then it reiterates my belief that there is a director, even though
So,
again I'm
so
not
how,
trained.
how soon can that happen? I mean, you must
As
have
you
had
know,
timelines
as
in
you
your
know,
head.
these things don't, they take time in
Yeah.
terms of actually anything. But I would like to believe that something or the other I would like to do in the next couple of years for sure.
Okay. And talking about working with the best people from the industry, or working with another acting ace, that's Manoj Bajpai in Dispatch. How
Yes.
has that experience been like, and when do we see that getting released?
That's been amazing because we've had this very unusual journey of being a part of the same film, but
Yeah.
not being in the same frame and only
Yeah.
being on the premiere. This was a film called Gali Guliyan that Dipesh Jain had directed, that we did in which released in 2017, but at that time it got lost in the larger scheme of things. And as the universe plays its part, suddenly OTT becomes big. The pandemic makes sitting back at home and watching things online more accessible, and the film comes out finally now last year. I think it came out on Amazon Prime. So that
How are people talking about it? It's such a haunting film. I've seen it myself, and it's great.
I know. So I mean, of course, I don't like giving off the story, but I was like, oh, there I play a different kind of equation with you, and without even sharing screen space with you. And here now I get to play your wife and actually work with you. So it was, it's a small part I play in the film. The film is really a large trajectory of Manoj's character and the various people that kind of play a part in shaping his reality at the time. And Kanu is also a director that I've always loved. I mean, ever since I watched Titri, and there was something about his precision of authenticity that he brought to the way people performed that was very intriguing. And I really wanted to work with him as well. And when he approached me for the part, I was like, what do I have to lose? Yes, it's a smaller part, but it'll be such a great journey because I get to work with Kanu, I get to work with Manoj. I get to play a part that has so many ups and downs. Like, even again, I shot just for 6-7 days, but the graph of that character is immense. And we workshopped for it all together for 10 days. That itself was an amazing experience. And then to kind of film the scenes, and they were very complicated scenes. I mean, there's one funny story, but I guess those are stories I should leave for when the film comes. But yeah, there were also, like, in all that drama, there were also funny, funny little accidents on the set, which are like occupational hazards.
You were also talking about Gully Gulia, and in that process, you spoke about how OTT has become a boon for a lot of these kind of films to find platform, also for other kind of content. You've been a part of, the things like A Suitable Boy, Bombay Begums. All of that has been well received on OTT. Well received is like an understatement. So, as an actor, how do you see that sort of shift happening from cinema, the big screen? Of course, that has got its own merit, but also the content consumption that is happening through OTT platforms. So, how much of a boon is there for actors like you because of these platforms that have now sprung up?
I mean, I think that there's no denying that it is a huge support and a huge opening up, not only of different kinds of content and different formats, like long format, which could not exist in cinema, or even really short format, short films, which would not be viewed so much in theater. But I also believe that it's something that has to go hand in hand. Today, maybe the advantage is that there are certain films that are being made that are meant to go straight to OTT, and therefore the cost of exhibition and distribution becomes lesser. And certain kinds of films that were found it hard to compete against or get good timings and slots are now in an equal playing field, where they will be watched purely based on word of mouth, because that's how the OTT functions. Nobody really, you have too much content to really fight through marketing. Your only win in a fight is how well received it is, how much people talk about it. The smallest of small films get discovered at some point or the other if they have been well received by the audience, if they've been talked about. And the rate at which people consume is immense, and it's amazing. So in that sense, of course, I think that it has really opened up horizons. And I always, I'm the eternal optimist in terms of hoping and seeing the bright side of technology, of new things. But I'm also, I hope against hope that it doesn't go down the path, or even if it does, it finds equilibrium back to it, that it doesn't go down the path of trying to play the number games, the star games and all that again, because it can lean towards that. There can be interest in that direction, but ultimately then when other shows that are good in terms of their content, that does not necessarily have a star power, when they do well, like when shows like Asur or Kohra, or when they do well, or Patal, then you feel like, okay, people are still looking for good content, and it doesn't matter who's in it. In fact, your writing being great is what will create the next stars, or create like then you have people like Proshinjit being seen again, or you have people, like Sarika up there, or
Pooja Bhatt for that matter, yeah.
Pooja Bhatt,
Absolutely.
exactly. So that's what I'm hoping, that you can, that we use all the resources that we have, old and new, but in more intriguing and interesting ways, in more surprising ways, rather than going that same cliched route of this works, that formula, this, that, and the other.
One final thing that I want to understand is again going back to the same question of your career trajectory. Unfortunately or fortunately, actors get branded into thinking actors, art actors, popular actors, blah, blah, blah. But I want to understand that because of your career choices, obviously there is a thinking cap that's been associated always with your name. Now there are a lot of political voices that come in the wake of actors also being very, very strong advocates of certain things that are happening in India or otherwise. Are you one of those people? Would you also, for example, if you see, let's say, a video coming out of Manipur, which is horrendous, horrific, would you be one of the first people to react to what are the atrocities of the Manipur there?
I mean, definitely. See, I think I'm at a point where I feel commenting, especially on things that are sensitive, has to come from a space of either having enough knowledge
Yeah.
or commenting from a human perspective.
Mm.
Blame to me is uninteresting, because blame doesn't lead to solutions, because you cannot blame only one thing. If you want to blame, then look at the larger structural, then blame humanity, then blame society, blame yourself. See where we've gone wrong in creating the world that we've created. There is no one person to blame. But I can look at it from a humanistic perspective, where I see that it is unfortunate that we have come to this situation. You can see that it is unfortunate that certain things are being done to certain people, but the people who are doing it are also wrong in some way. That is my belief. And they, by isolating them and making them villains, does not help us understand the circumstances that have led them to that act either. It's not solution forming for me. So I'm not one quick to get on the bandwagon of blame and pointing fingers, but do I have a sense of empathy and sympathy towards the things happening around me? Am I someone who feels the pain of the reality that we live in various aspects of life right now? Of course. But, my approach is more about trying to focus on the things that we need to shift and change, focus on the things that are working as well, and take aspects of that into, I mean, essentially we're in an era where one has to build on community. And for community, I keep coming back to that Robert Frost poem, which says, I forget the lines, but it's about when you're putting a wall, what are you walling out and what are you walling in?
Yeah.
And it's really that now. It's about, you have to break all the walls down, and it can't be a us versus them in anything, because that, who gets to decide which us is correct? Then it has to be a us, meaning the whole world together. Then all the yous and us have to come together somehow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's very well said. But Sana, before I let you go, of course, I'm waiting for you to don that director's hat, so fingers crossed for that. But because I teased on the popular bit, when it is about this popular cinema branding, do you see yourself going all out and possibly be part of a masala film, which is breaking
I
away
have
from that norm?
my whole life. Then my life played out in a way where that felt like an unrealistic dream. But then when I think back, just as I told you, when I started my career, being an actor felt like an unrealistic dream. Working with the kind of people I work with felt like an unrealistic dream. So now I truly believe that the fact that the seed has always been there in me, and today I have the confidence to be able to own that part of me and say and know that I can actually do it really well.
Yeah.
Because I have trained in dance. I have been even in my dance class, which was a classical dance class, I was known to be the Bollywood Thumke Wali, So into that, I have danced in front of the mirror with a dupatta all my life, with jhatkoing my hair and doing all that, and dancing to Suraj Hua Madham. I've had posters up on my wall. I am a full Bollywood girl, the old school Bollywood girl. Today also, So I feel like that's something that people just don't associate with me, and maybe I've let that image continue. But I'm very happy to break that. And if that means in today's world that you create a world of your own reels and dance videos out there, I'll do it, because I
So
know.
be it.
And it's also just about like shifting things around. I'm, like you said, I'm bored of this, kind of broader image of being a serious thinking actor. And I don't think it's, you are not serious in thinking. It's a very different kind of engagement with the self and with the camera and with the audience. To be able to do that, it's a lot of rigor, a lot of hard work. And I don't see why the two should be mutually exclusive in any way.
Absolutely. Let's hope that happens soon as well. Shahana, thank you so much. It was great speaking with you.
Same here, Priya. Thank you. Thanks for making that.
Thank you. You take care. Bye.